If you've ever played MMOs like WoW or WildStar and thought, what if this was just the dungeons? The demo gives a taste of the action, but after a few runs, it starts to show cracks. Before you dive in, here's what you need to know. Now, to be fair, there are definitely people enjoying this game. Some folks seem to be having a blast running dungeons, getting loot, and testing builds. But for some players, the motivation to stick around just isn't there. You might spend an hour in a dungeon thinking, okay, maybe it clicks next time, only to find yourself logging off wondering why you're not having fun. Fellowship is marketed as a multiplayer online dungeon adventure. Essentially, it's about running dungeons repeatedly, leveling up your difficulty tiers, and collecting gear. Watching gameplay, it's immediately clear where it draws inspiration. Think World of Warcraft dungeons or WildStar, with similar combat animations, telegraphs, and dungeon pacing. It's all about the dungeon runs. There's no expansive open-world leveling here, just quick dungeon bursts. Starting off, movement feels decent. Animations are smooth enough, abilities are responsive to a point, and the art style is genuinely pleasant. The tutorial throws a lot at you: shield abilities, class mechanics, healing rotations, and some early DPS strategies. It's classic MMO onboarding. If you've never played one before, expect to be slightly overwhelmed in the first 15 minutes. One odd quirk? No active dodge ability. In 2025, it feels almost criminal to not have a dodge or roll. But maybe that's part of the design choice, sticking to classic MMO tab targeting combat. Speaking of which, auto attacks, tab targeting, and ability rotations are in full effect. If you've played a WoW dungeon before, you'll feel a sense of déjà vu. If not, welcome to learning the ropes while dodging everything thrown at you. The first hour is mostly exploration, checking out the hub, interacting with crafting stations, looking at mounts, and testing out abilities. It's a cozy little hub area, which actually makes one wonder, why isn't this a full MMO? There's a bridge here that screams, imagine a full MMO running through these forests and cities. But that's wishful thinking. This is strictly dungeon focused. Now here's where things start to unravel a bit. The first dungeon run is a solid 10-minute affair. Clear trash mobs, defeat the boss, collect gear. Rinse and repeat. Difficulty tiers, called plus runs, gradually increase the challenge and modify mechanics. For example, a +1 dungeon might increase threat generation, making tanks sweat a little more, while a +2 dungeon adds slightly stronger enemies. Talents and abilities unlock as you climb, but only through dungeon progression. The combat is functional, but something feels off. Visually, it looks like a WoW clone, but the feel is missing. Attacks don't hit with impact, enemy reactions feel underwhelming, and the UI, while informative, can be overwhelming. Cooldowns, bars, and nameplates are everywhere, which is practical but not exactly immersive. Big hits don't feel big. Healing rotations feel like they're missing punch, and the responsiveness just doesn't give that satisfying feedback you expect from a dungeon grinder. Here's a major sticking point: the loot system. In the demo, weapon drops are absent, and rare loot is minimal. Lower tier runs mostly give a fixed set of gray items, while higher difficulties start dropping some green gear. Many players report the lack of surprising or jackpot moments, which can make repeated runs feel less exciting. Swords, shields, or new staves don't appear in the demo loot pool. So far, it's mostly gear, rings, and accessories. This could make the grind feel stale for players looking for weapon upgrades, though post-launch updates may expand the loot variety and include more rewarding drops. Progression is tied entirely to dungeon clears. Complete a +0, unlock +1. Clear +1, unlock +2. Some ability points or talents unlock along the way, but traditional character leveling and XP grinding are minimal so far in the demo. There's not much natural sense of growth outside of dungeon completion, which could feel limiting for long-term play until additional progression mechanics are added in future updates. Now, it's not all bad. Visually, the game is a treat. Character models, enemy designs, boss mechanics, and environmental variety are all solid. Some bosses have genuinely cool abilities, like a siren boss that pulls the party in, or an ice boss with deadly cone attacks. Movement is responsive, jumping around feels fine, and the base performance of the game is solid. Servers struggled a bit on launch day, but that's par for the course. Also, the hub area is surprisingly cozy and well designed. Crafting stations, mounts, and dungeons to explore make it feel like there's potential. There's even a leaderboard system for competitive players, which is a nice touch for those chasing efficiency rather than casual fun. Where the game struggles is the fun factor. Combat lacks impact, the loot system is uninspiring, and progression is strictly tied to dungeon completion. The UI, while functional, is cluttered and not particularly immersive. There's little incentive to replay dungeons outside of chasing slightly better gear. Without the thrill of a rare drop or the satisfaction of leveling up your character in traditional ways, the grind feels hollow. Character customization is limited. You pick from fixed, pre-designed heroes, each with their own core abilities. Variation comes through talent rows and modifiers, but so far those changes are modest. There's no character creator or full freedom over looks, and while talent builds let you tweak your hero a bit, the differences, at least in the demo, aren't huge. Fellowship has some genuine positives: solid visuals, competent performance, and cool boss mechanics, but the core gameplay loop just doesn't land for everyone. Combat feels hollow, loot is underwhelming, and progression is purely dungeon-tied, making repeated runs feel more like chores than fun. If you're an MMO veteran who loves efficiency, targeting meters, and predictable mechanics, there's enjoyment to be found here. But if you're looking for a dungeon grinder that feels rewarding and engaging with strong combat feedback, this demo might leave you wanting more. So, is it worth playing based on demo? If you have a soft spot for MMO-inspired dungeon runs, or if you're curious to see how the game evolves post-launch. For most players though, the fun just doesn't quite stick, at least not yet. Hopefully, future updates address the loot system, combat feel, and progression to make Fellowship feel more like the rewarding dungeon adventure it promises. That's the lowdown on Fellowship based on the demo. The potential is definitely there, but the execution right now leaves a lot to be desired. For a dungeon crawler with MMO vibes, it scratches the surface, but it doesn't quite make the leap to being truly engaging.